Happy Valentine's Day, and the time is 5:03. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Board Member Kravitz, will you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Also Arizona's birthday.
Oh yeah, happy birthday, Arizona. Very true. We will have a roll call starting from my far right.
Allison Beckham.
Sandy Kravitz.
Kim Hartman. Pam Kirby.
Barbara Perleberg. All board members are present, and we do have a quorum. First item, the approval of the agenda. Are there any requests for changes to the agenda? Board Member Kravitz?
Oh, do you?
No? No? All right. Any requests? No? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Board Member Kirby, for making the motion, and the second, Board Member Beckham. Is that correct? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next item, for the Board President now calls upon our Superintendent to present recognitions and celebrations.
And given the fact that I have such a lovely cold in the voice, I'm going to defer to Dr. McNeil, and he's going to help me out here.
Madam President, governing board members, Dr. Birdwell, Sandra, and guests, let's start with our celebrations. We have much to be thankful for, and we have lots to celebrate. First of all, the 2017 SUSD Spelling Bee champion is in the room, and he is a repeat winner. If Amkar Barath from Redfield Elementary School can come on up here. Principal Bono is here, and Principal Bono, if you can just say a couple things about this amazing man. I've watched him in action. He's amazing.
He's so amazing. Amkar won our District B last year as well and repeated this year. It's important to note that he did win our school spelling bee as a second grader. Amkar is currently in 4th grade. He won the school bee in 2nd grade, but was unfortunately too young to compete in the District B, but we would have felt confident he would have taken that year too. We feel pretty confident that we will be seeing great things from Amkar. And again, congratulations on behalf of Redfield and all of our districts. So way to go, buddy.
He is adorable.
All right, next up,
Mom, go on with him.
no kidding. Okay, next, 2017 National Board Certified Teachers, if Dr. Benson can come to the podium. Dr. Benson?
I'm going to skip and go to the next one.
Okay, we're going to skip the next one. All right, well then let's get to the state championships. State 5A girls soccer champions, Chaparral High School, Dr. Von Echten.
Thank you very much. Oh, I think I'm supposed to do a slide here. Hold on one moment. Yeah, there we go.
All that long hair.
All right, do we also have, in addition to our Chaparral High School varsity girls soccer team state champs, we have our athletic director and assistant principal, Tommy Eubanks. And do we have Coach Carlson with us up here? There we are, sorry, there he is, way over there. Didn't mean to miss you there. Madam President, governing board members, and Dr. Birdwell, it's a pleasure to have our team up here. You know, it's tough being number one, but that's what the Chaparral girls soccer team was from the first day of the season, way back in November to the last day of the season, just 3 short days ago. In that time, the Firebirds went 21-2. These girls worked hard, were dedicated to the team, and committed to each other, even after long practices on the nights before tests and when they were studying or doing homework on the bus on the way to a game, or in the stands waiting for the JV game to end. This team, the overall GPA is an impressive 3.9. Congratulations, all right. The seniors, Carly, Tyler, Chloe, Story, Rachel, Anna, Tatum, and Haley were amazing leaders on and off the field. They let the underclassmen know they wouldn't let them down, not when the semifinal game last week went into a shootout, and not when the championship game this past weekend went into a second overtime. They hung in there and they picked each other up. I present to you the state championship team. Clerk. I think we're going to go right to
Great job. Congratulations.
Coronado. Oh, but wait, there's more. Can we have the Coronado High School varsity boys soccer team join us? All right, and we do have Athletic Director David Huffine joining us, and Coach, where are you? Coach Barker? Oh, there we go. Sorry, on the end. I should know that the second time around. This season, the Coronado boys soccer team persevered and learned how to play through all the pressure and expectations, being ranked number 1. The team rallied around this motto: nothing to prove, no one to impress. This allowed the boys to play with great freedom and passion when they took the field. It must have worked because the team had 6 come-from-behind wins, tied the California state champions, beat 4-time state champions Catalina Foothills, in the state quarterfinals last week, and beat 6-time state champs South Point Catholic in the final. That's pretty impressive. And talk about nail-biting endings, the championship game on Saturday went down to the wire through 2 10-minute overtime periods, 2 5-minute sudden death overtimes, and then 10 penalty kicks. And then a spectacular save by David Flores on Sal Point's 4th penalty kick and a 5th successful penalty kick by Brian Delgado that sealed the championship for the Dons, their 2nd state championship in the past 4 years. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to Coronado State.
Go Dons. Nice job, Coach. Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask that Dr. Karen Benson come up and do our celebrations for the National Board Certified Teacher. So, Dr. Benson?
Good evening, Madam President, Governing Board members, Dr. Birdwell, Sandra, and all joining us this evening. Tonight I have the privilege of introducing our most recent teacher in SUSD to earn the distinction of National Board Certification this last December, Miss Rachel Mazzullo. Rachel has joined me at the podium along with her Principal Thuman, but before we celebrate her, I want to tell you a little bit more about her. Rachel is the orchestra director at Ingleside Middle School, and she also teaches orchestra at Hopi and strings at Tavon. She's been with the district since 1993, and she is only one of 10 total teachers across the state to earn this distinction this year. Principal Chris Zuman had this to share about Rachel. It is so impressive to see someone work so hard for our students every day. Having such dedicated staff such as Rachel, who spend their own time going out to better themselves with education and additional training, like the National Board Program, is amazing. I'm so impressed as principal seeing the selfless acts and dedication of a teacher like Rachel, and that she has for our kiddos every day. Currently, our Rachel joins 86 National Board Certified teachers working in SUSD at this time, and we have 29 teachers in pursuit of this certification. Those numbers reflect 10 teachers that started on this journey 2 years ago, 6 that began last year, 8 that started this year, and we have just 5 teachers in our pre-candidacy class this year. In order to make this possible, we've been very fortunate to have the ongoing support of both our SUSD Foundation and our CHAROS, as both provide support to our teacher candidates to allow them to grow and learn during this certification process. And that requires our teachers to reflect and collect evidence of their accomplished practice. I think we have our board chairperson here from the foundation, Alicia, are you here? Martin, thank you, so I can read my own writing. Alicia Martin, thank you again for representing the foundation for this ongoing support to our NBC candidates. We've also been fortunate to have our own SUSD candidate support providers in Scottsdale, Tammy Andreas, Abby Bobbitt, and Susan Leonard. If you're here, could you wave? Mary Zongalowitz and Bobby Faulkner all together provide ongoing support with our NBC cohort, and their commitment to our candidates has allowed us to have one of the highest pass rates of all NBC candidates in the Valley. But tonight it's all about Rachel, so please join me in celebrating one of 10 National Board certified teachers in the state to earn this distinction this year. Thank you.
You know, and just to share a little story, I got to visit her class the day they gave that to her, and I have to tell you that her students were so excited and proud of her, but also understanding how much hard work that it took to get there. So again, congratulations, and it was a joy to be in your classroom when you received it.
I'm going to take just one more moment at the podium. Dr. McNeil stole a little bit of our thunder about how we wanted to recognize 6 Spelling Bee recipients winners this year. And so I'm going to have Amkar come back up here if he's still here. Did he jet out or is he still here? Oh, he left, but there are others that get to join him this year. We get to send 6 spellers to Region 2 this year in Cave Creek. So joining Amkar and representing SUSD will be 5 runners-up, and they are Gabriella Taddeo, from 7th grader from Desert Canyon Middle School. Thank you. Dean Alcari, 5th grader from Kiva Elementary School. Max Greenspan, 5th grader from Cherokee Elementary School. Tanner Hertz, 5th grader from Copper Ridge. And Andrew Pham, 5th grader from Pueblo Elementary School. The Cave Creek Unified School District gets to host the Regional Bee, and that happens this Friday. Also wanted to do a little shout out to our SUSD Foundation for the supports that they provide to our Spelling Bee, because they pay for all registrations from every elementary, middle, and K-8 school to the scripts to allow them to participate, and they supply us with the trophies as well. So please wish me in sending good wishes and good luck to our students and honoring the Foundation's support to our Spelling Bee.
And those are tonight's celebrations.
Thank you. Next, item 5, public comments. Just to confirm, do I have all of the cards submitted? Yes? Okay. In conformance with open meeting laws, the governing board may not discuss or take action tonight on any matters raised during public comments that are not on the agenda. However, the governing board may respond to direct criticism, ask staff to review the matter, or ask that it be placed on a future agenda. We highly encourage those commenting on agenda items tonight to stay for the presentation and the discussion that follows. As a reminder, each speaker will have 3 minutes. Vice President Kirby will indicate the time with a 30-second warning. Our first speaker is Julie Sanowski.
Good evening, Dr. Birdwell, Madam President, board members, and Sandra. As you know, I'm a parent of Scottsdale students, a proud teacher, and the Scottsdale Education Association president. I am committed to doing what is in the best interest of our students and staff members. I am committed to building our future in this district to best serve our students and the communities we live in. Together, we can achieve, together, we can accomplish more. The voice of the teacher is vital to the success of students in every school and in any district. As a parent and a teacher, I'm aware of the weaknesses which exist in this district. As employees, we view our needs with a different lens. We have many employees who choose to send their children to our schools. And in spite of these perceived or known weaknesses, we continue to invest our existence into the betterment of this system. This shows the true dedication and commitment to this vocation, our district, and our communities. We as educators know what is best for our students. We as parents want what is best for our children. To me, this path towards improvement seems pretty simple. Ask the teachers what they need to best support their students, then provide what is needed. This will deliver success for our stakeholders. It is unfortunate that through voicing our frustrations in regards to what is necessary to improve public education, teachers have been perceived as whiners and even as crybabies. The fact of the matter is that when teachers fight for their vocation, they fight for their students. If teachers are truly valued and revered as the experts in educating the students they influence, as they should be, they will be sought out for guidance and asked to lead the necessary changes. I challenge our district to make decisions and take action to show the support of our teachers to retain the finest through best professional compensation and benefits, and to not sell them short on input or impact. True leaders embrace diversity of ideas, of thinking. True leaders do not form opinions solely on test scores or altered facts. We can be the front runners of local change by collectively altering the landscape of district public education. We need to communicate with one another better and work collaboratively to support our students' best interests. We need to think and act differently as leaders. The voice of the teacher is vital to the success of students in every school and in every district. Thank you.
Joe Geisick. I'm not sure. Hope I said that correctly.
Madam President, fellow board members, Superintendent Dr. Birdwell, all Scottsdale staff, parents, taxpayers, and last but not least, students. My name is Joe Gusick, and I'm your lovable, slightly annoying American citizen. I'm your education Lorax. Let me read a quote to you. The life of the nation is secure only while the nation is honest, truthful, and virtuous. Frederick Douglass. So to this document I share with you. I found the books. You can see the 86 book, that thin. The 2005 6 book, that big 20 years later. And not even 9 years later, double the size again. So from my experience of actually being on several different committees and speaking at the Classroom First meetings, I served on Congressman Salmon's Education Committee. So I have a good idea of what the federal statutes are as well. To completely fund the Education Code for 2014-15, it would take an additional $2.9 to $3.45 billion in additional annual investment into our K-12 education system. We have actually four choices. Do nothing, time to fund to the structure, rely on the structure to the budget, or maybe a little bit of both. This includes your federal and your ESA impact. So, I want to share with you what I'm advocating for down at the state capitol. As a former UPS employee, and in fact, an employee to David Abney, now the CEO of UPS, who taught me quite well. How you solve a problem like this is first, do a time cost study of the entire K-12 education system. 2, a 40-year actuarial cycle study. 3, a factored allocation analysis report. 4, continued inflation spending tracking that we're doing today. And 5, have a Senate and a House education caucus forum that is not controlled by any one party, where they actually get to dream and do a whiteboard. So, as I always like to share, I like to share thoughts and ideas with people like you. And I go from school districts. I want to compliment you. I'm going to go share this with the other school districts. The other school districts have never seen this before. You put your vision, your mission, your values, and your strategic goals here. That's awesome. That's why I show up at all these different school districts to share thoughts and ideas from each and every one of you. One thing I will share with you that Chandler is doing and Tempe Elementary is now doing. They have a 10-year.
business plan, academic plan, and a capital plan. So I'd just like to finish up with that. If you want to advocate and we want to change the conversation, I would appreciate you speaking to your state representatives and challenging them to do those 5 things that I said. Thank you.
Next. Thank you. Next, Judy Edmondson.
Madam President, governing board members, Dr. Birdwell and Sandra, I stand before you, a graduate of Coronado, a mother of 2 Coronado graduates, a longtime community member, and an employee of Hohokam Traditional School. Board Member Kirby had made a reference to Groundhog Day regarding the repetition of the same conversation we're having, and I agree it's been a long-standing issue going back many years, too many years. I started working at Hohokam because of my children. I initially intended to leave after my younger son was out of 6th grade because we were K-6 up until 4 years ago. That son's now 21 and in college, and I'm still here. There's so many kids who still need us, who need our support and our love. That's why I continue to stay. We all know our students, from the custodian to the principal and everybody in between. I know that I and that we make a difference in these children's lives every day. That is why I continue to stay at Hohokam. One group consistently states that Hohokam is a drain on the district because we have too large a staff. They surely must not realize that we have a large special education population and we have 25 staff members dedicated and mandated by state law to make sure those children have and get the education they support and support that they deserve. Other campuses may not have those programs. I would never want to lose any of our mix of children as they contribute to our diverse community and make Hohokam the truly special place that it is, where children, and I mean all children, come first. This is my community. I love my community. I live, work, and play in this community. I have been on this ride for over 10 years with these discussions. I voted, the community voted, to pass them on and rebuild schools. The time has come for Hohokam to be rebuilt. Our children deserve it, and we're long overdue. Thank you.
Jenny Figley. Jenny Figley. We have many wishing to make a comment tonight, so if we can hold the applause, we'll get through quicker and make sure we get to hear from everyone. Is Jenny Figley here? And then followed by Jay Figley.
Good morning. Thank you so much for everybody that came. I know it's a holiday and we appreciate the support. First of all, I would like to say I've got a son who is in 5th grade at Hohokam. He is a gifted student and he is an excellent and leadership student. I would really, really like for you guys to consider the K-8 program because I think that the most important skills that a middle school student can learn is leadership, especially at that age. And if you leave them in the K-8 program, they will have the opportunity to show strong leadership skills to the younger students. If you stick them into the Coronado school for a 7 through 12, I fear that that might be a very bad choice because then they'll follow the leadership of students that are already adults or nearing adulthood, and they need to have the chance to set leadership before they follow leadership. That being said, I do want to let you know that we drive to school from Mesa because Hohokam is such an exceptional school, and we don't want to stop that. I've got a young girl and another one on the way, and I would really love to continue with Hohokam, which the K-8 experience is really what we're looking for. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Jay Figley.
You want me to stand here with you? Do you want me to do yours for you? Can I do his? He's a little nervous. Can I say his?
Yes.
All right. My son would like to let you know that he loves the fact that Hohokam is an A-plus excellent school, and he does not want to leave that. He has high aspirations for his future. One of his options that he is looking into is MIT, and he believes that the A-plus excellence environment is going to really boost his steps to get to that position. He has other friends that have constantly commented how much they would love to stay at Hohokam because it is so much more of an educational opportunity than some of the other choices, and he fears that the further education is such a drop-off from the Hohokam to the middle school to the high school, and he's hoping that that can be improved in time so that he can, like I said, have schools coming to him, asking him to join their colleges and universities. Thank you.
Michelle Seek is next. Hello. All right. Madam President, Governing Board members, Dr. Birdwell and Sandra. My name is Michelle Seek. I have been the visual arts teacher at Hohokam for 9 years. I am currently the lead elementary school visual arts teacher for the entire Scottsdale district. When I started here 9 years ago, Hohokam was promised a rebuild. Then it was pushed off when times got tough. When things started looking up a few years later, we were once again promised a rebuild and were pushed off once again. When the recent bond passed and the district celebrated, our rebuild was brought back to the table and our community was relieved that we would get the campus we had been dreaming of. You yourselves at the last information session on February 2nd stated that Hohokam had the right test scores, the right community involvement and support. You told us what we were doing was working for both the district and our families. We cannot be expected to raise our students up with one hand while also trying to hold up the roof over our very heads with the other. We have major plumbing issues that affect our campus way too often. I have no access to hot water in my building. Have you ever tried to scrub something clean in cold water? These plumbing problems are patched over and over again. These patches are like Band-Aids on bullet wounds. When we come back to school in August, it is a daily struggle to keep the AC running and our campus cool. We all cross our fingers in the morning and hope that the chiller holds out for another couple of months until the temperatures come down. We have no gym for our PE class. When it's 110 degrees out, our kids are pushed into a classroom. Getting kids active in a small classroom is no way to conduct an effective PE program. We all know educating our students on fitness and good nutrition is so important. Please help us get the facilities we need to make our students' health needs a priority. We need your help. Please don't push our rebuild off any longer. Thank you. Paula Waybright, followed by Mike Peabody.
Good evening, parents, neighbors, and school board members. My name is Paula Waybright. I'm a longtime resident of South Scottsdale and an educator for over 30 years. I understand there's been a proposal to make Hohokam a K-6 school and to send 7th and 8th graders to Coronado in order to increase the population there. I applaud the district's intention to provide assistance to Coronado to raise the level of performance. According to an article in the Scottsdale Independent last month, only 38% of CHS students are college ready upon graduation. Many students who might like to go to Coronado are attending other Scottsdale schools or seeking boundary exceptions to other districts or attending charter or private schools in order to get their education. Coronado's improvement could raise their student population in the right way with the addition of high school age students. However, the use of 7th and 8th graders from Hohokam and possibly Yavapai to artificially inflate Coronado's population is neither appropriate nor is it in the best interests of any of the affected students, and most especially those 12 to 14-year-olds. Research shows that many school districts throughout the U.S. have returned to the K-8 model. The number of K-8 schools have nearly doubled in the last 10 years. Studies have shown that attendance is better, the violence is less, the academics are at least as good, if not better, and that the students benefit from being the oldest students in a K-8 environment. A Harvard Graduate School of Education study stated that moving students in grades 6 or 7 causes a substantial drop in the test scores and increases the likelihood of their dropping out of high school. Too many schools have lost touch with the unique developmental needs of those students, especially when middle schools become merely vestibules added at the front door of the high schools. Study after study shows that grade configuration matters. Progressive public school districts all around the country are abandoning grade configurations that move 7th and 8th graders into middle schools, junior highs, and especially high schools because of the negative effects on their safety and self-esteem, as well as their social and academic development. Studies have confirmed that exposing younger students to older peers too soon has persistent negative consequences on their academic trajectories, while keeping kids in their neighborhood schools through 8th grade contributes to their academic success. Coronado is already struggling with the lowest graduation rate at SUSD at 71% and has a lot of hard work ahead to improve. If the district wants to experiment with putting 7th and 8th graders in the high schools, it seems inappropriate to place this burden on Coronado. It would make far more sense to conduct this experiment at the schools that are on more solid footing and with the highest graduation rates, such as Desert Mountain with 91% or Chaparral with 92%. If the board's goals are to improve our public schools and to raise enrollment in both the elementary and the high school and give our students in South Scottsdale the best chance at long-term success, this experiment at this time raises questions for me. But if the goal is to lower the enrollment in order to push these students into charter schools, then indeed this could be a tipping point to end the continued public school access in South Scottsdale. And please remember that parents will be voting with their feet.
Ike Peabody?
Madam President, Governing Board, Dr. Birdwell, Sandra, Cabinet members, I've gone through about 8 iterations of a speech that I could lay on you, telling you the benefits of Hohokam, telling you everything that I've put in my letter to you, and everything that wasn't in the letter to you. But I'm going to go through my 9th iteration right now. If you look around this room right now, you'll see students and staff from Hohokam that believe in our school. Our principal, Chuck Rentala, believes in our school, believes in K-8. Our teachers believe in K-8. They want it. 85% of our population wants this school to go K-8. I'm reminded of a time back when President Perleberg and Dr. Nance did a very hard-fought fight for Pima Rocks because the BRAC committee at that time recommended that Pima be closed. Pima Rocks came out of it. I'd say to my Hohokam friends, if the board won't listen to us, we should do Hohokam Soars. Every house could have it just like you did for your community. And beyond that, I will fight for Pima also to be a K-8 traditional if that's what the community wants. I will fight for Pueblo to go K-8, and I believe in Pueblo K-8 for the kids in their language. I will fight for every school in the Granite Reef corridor to become what their community wants, because that's what they deserve. As Ms. Edmondson said, we didn't vote for closures. We didn't vote to consolidate. We voted to rebuild. And in order to rebuild, we must consult the community. We've been doing that. 85%, like we said, like you know, said they want the K-8 there. Dr. Birdwell pointed out a couple meetings ago that Hohokam has become the shining star of the southern area. Now, it seems like in my time here, Pima and Hohokam go back and forth, and I want them both to be the shining stars. I want them both to succeed. I want Tonalea to succeed. I want Yavapai to succeed. I want everyone, because these kids are our future doctors. They're our future lawyers and architects, mechanics. They are everything to us. Continuing the education at Hohokam will make that possible. Making Hohokam K-8 will give these kids a better chance at success in life. I can't look at these kids and not fight. I had a resignation letter in for the SPC board. I didn't submit it because of kids giving me hugs, thanking me for fighting for them. I was set to move my daughter to Chandler or to Tempe because of this. I'm not going to. She's going to stay at Hohokam for as long as she can. I will continue to fight for every kid here as long as I have a breath in my body. Thank you.
Next, Becky. Thank you, Becky Wolf, followed by Jessica Hernandez.
Good evening. My name is Becky Wolf, and I have 2 children that attend Hohokam Traditional. I am one of the 85% that voted yes for K through 8 for our school. My children and I love their school. We love the staff, the incredible teachers, and the overall values and character at Hohokam. My kids are thriving there, and I want them to stay as long as possible. My question to you is, why would you even bother giving us the survey if you were going to completely disregard the results? If you aren't going to allow Hohokam to expand through K through 8, why not resume with the plans to at least rebuild as soon as possible? Our school is in desperate need of repairs. If something breaks at your home, you fix it, right? The plumbing, the air conditioning, your roof when it leaks, you fix it for your comfort and the safety of your family. What about the safety and comfort of our children? Don't they deserve to have a comfortable learning environment? I have heard that you have concerns about our attendance, that there aren't enough students enrolled at our school. Don't you know that in order to get something to grow and thrive, you need to nurture it? You need to support it, not ignore and neglect it. Please stop ignoring the needs of our children. They are just as special and deserving as the other children in our district. Do not forget that it is your job to be advocates for all of our children in schools. Hohokam is full of bright and amazing children ready to learn and succeed. They just need your consideration and your support. I believe that I speak for all of the Hohokam parents when I say we are sick and tired of our children and their teachers being treated less fairly than others. Respect Hohokam and respect our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica Hernandez, followed by Lily Saldana.
Buenas tardes, respetables miembros de la mesa directiva.
Good afternoon, Superintendent Birdwell and members of the Governing Board.
Me encantaría que la escuela Hohokam fuera reconstruida y se hiciera hasta el kindergarten y octavo grado.
I would love for Hohokam to be rebuilt and for it to be kindergarten through 8th grade school.
Mis hijos aman esa escuela y en lo personal me siento segura de la educación que están recibiendo en ella.
My children go to Hohokam, and I personally feel safe and certain that they receive a good education at Hohokam.
En esta escuela tenemos buenos maestros.
At this school, we have really good teachers.
Una de ellas es la señora Valencia.
One of these teachers is Mrs. Valencia.
Y en lo personal, quisiera que nos ayudaran para que esta escuela fuera mejor.
And personally, I would love for you to help us making this school better.
Porque nosotros los padres hispanos
because we, the Hispanic parents,
tenemos ayuda de los maestros cuando nuestros hijos necesitan apoyo.
We know we have the teachers' support and the help for our kids when they need it. We know we have their support.
Nosotros los padres también hispanos estamos involucrados en la educación.
We, the Hispanic parents, are also involved in our children's education.
De nuestros hijos.
Okay.
Y en esa escuela, en lo personal, me gusta el apoyo que me dan como padre.
And at this school, personally, I love the support that they give me as a parent.
Que ellos también hacen que los padres tengan, que se puedan involucrar.
And they make it possible for the parents to be involved.
Ellos nos abren las puertas de la escuela para que nosotros podamos también estudiar inglés. I'm learning English too. I understand, but my speak is bad, so I'm trying.
So in Hohokam, they open the doors for us as parents to learn as well by offering English classes, as you can see.
Por último, tengo mi hijo ahorita está en 6º grado. Él estuvo el año pasado pidiendo que no cerrara nuestra escuela porque es una de las mejores, A+.
And one more thing, my son is in 6th grade this year, and last year, one of the things that he was begging for was to please don't close our school because it's one of the best schools. It's an A+ school.
So, gracias y espero que puedan ayudarnos para la comunidad de nosotros. Hasta luego.
So thank you for your time, and I hope that you can help us and our school community.
Thank you. Lily Saldana, followed by Maria Sandoval.
Dear Governing Board, I am a proud Hohokam parent. 2 of my children here tonight and my husband are here to support me, and we're here to ask you to please rebuild our school. I love Hohokam because the teachers there care for all of our students and love to teach them. Hohokam teachers motivate students and believe in them. And both of my children here are in leadership classes. They are leaders. They, at this young age that they're at, know what they want to be, and that's surprising because I sure didn't know what I wanted to be, or told my parents. They're only 10 and 11. My daughter wants to be a lawyer, and my son, he wants to go to business school, and he wants to be a realtor as well. Thanks to this and the support of the teachers, my kids are not just doing fine at Hohokam. Thanks to Hohokam A+ school, its teachers and administration, my children at Hohokam are doing amazing, and I am so proud of them. I want to keep my children at Hohokam as long as I can because I know Hohokam teachers will prepare my kids for higher level education. I also ask to please rebuild Hohokam. It's hard for my children to learn in a classroom where the AC units don't work. And the rooms get so hot, my children complain of headaches during the summer and hot days. Please rebuild Hohokam. Our children need to be in a comfortable class to thrive and learn at their highest potential. Thank you.
Maria Sandoval, followed by Rosie Ramos.
Hi, dear Governing Board. Thank you for letting us be here. My name is Maria Sandoval, and I'm a proud Hohokam parent, and I'm here to ask you that please rebuild Hohokam and keep it from K through 8. The future of our kids is in your hands. We are a school A+, and I have two children. One go to 2nd grade, and the other one right now is on 6th grade. But unfortunately, she have to move to another school, and she loves Hohokam, and she misses her friends. She's a little distressed because everything changed. She thinks that she's going to have a future in Hohokam, and she's going to be there for a long time. But now she's on a different place. She doesn't have the same friend. She's on a different environment. She's doing good, but she will be better in Hohokam. And here is my little girl that she loves Hohokam. And this afternoon, she was trying to make a little poster to show us how she loves Hohokam. So can you guys please try to rebuild Hohokam and keep us kids safe? Thank you.
Rosie Ramos, followed by Miguel Loa.
Buenas tardes,
Habla despacito, por favor. Okay. Good afternoon.
miembros de la mesa directiva.
Good afternoon, members of the governing board.
Estamos reunidos esta noche acá.
We're here tonight.
Nuestra comunidad necesita que la escuela Hohokam siga adelante.
We're here tonight because our community, we need Hohokam to continue improving in the future.
Necesitamos una reconstrucción inmediata.
We need an immediate rebuild, reconstruction.
Nuestros hijos están ahí desde pequeños. Ellos aman la escuela. Ellos no quieren ir a otra escuela.
Our children have been there since they were tiny little ones. They love their school and they don't want to go to another school.
Cuando siempre hablamos de que la escuela se va a cerrar, ellos lloran porque no quieren ir a otra escuela.
Whenever we talk about the school possibly closing, they cry because they don't want to think about their school not being there.
Uno de ellos está acá, los dos. Ellos, uno quiere ser doctor y la niña quiere ser policía.
So my two kids are here. One wants to be a doctor. My daughter wants to be a police officer.
Pero ellos quieren continuar en la Hohokam.
But what they want most is to continue at Hohokam.
Muy buenas noches.
Thank you and good evening.
Thank you. Miguel Loa, next. Do we have Miguel Loa? Loa?
Buenas tardes a todos y cada uno de ustedes.
Good evening to every one of you.
Muchas gracias por venir y escuchar a las personas.
Thank you for being here and thank you for listening to us.
Yo pienso que la escuela y la comunidad solamente es una.
I think that the school and the community are one.
Espero que todos trabajemos juntos para el cambio.
I hope that we can work together to make a change.
No solo palabras, sino cada una de las personas ponga algo de su parte.
I hope that we don't just walk the walk, but we also take action.
Me gustaría que hubiera un buen cambio de parte de cada una de las personas.
I hope for every one of these people that we make a good and positive change.
Recordemos cuando seamos niños.
That we remember when we were children.
Ellos son el futuro de nuestra comunidad.
The children are our community's future.
Nosotros como personas adultas.
We as adults.
Sabemos que cada una de las escuelas lo que necesita.
We know what the schools need.
Todos ya queremos alguna ayuda para la escuela Hohokam.
What we want is a help for Hohokam.
Es todo.
And that's all.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next item on the agenda, item 6, the board president next calls upon the superintendent to present her comments.
And I do apologize, I'm going to have Dr. McNeil, because I'm going to give a presentation later, and if my voice can make it through that presentation, I'll be thrilled.
All right. Okay. I'll try to do my best, Denise. I don't think I'll even stand close to you. So, all right, let's start with our comments here. Our first comment is kindergarten roundups. Last week, our elementary and K-8 schools wrapped up their annual kindergarten roundup activities, which has been underway since late November. Our principals conducted many school tours for parents and children. Kindergarten registration is ongoing, so it's not too late to register a class of 2,031 students. Wow, that seems so far away. So far, 352 children have been signed up to start kindergarten with us in the fall. Next, U.S. Presidential Scholar nominees. We learned last week that 3 Scottsdale Unified School District students have been named U.S. Presidential Scholar nominees this year. They are Jake Ossendemore and Wesley Jung from Desert Mountain High School, and Cameron White from Saguaro High School. The Presidential Scholar Program was established in 1964 to recognize some of the nation's most distinguishing graduating high school seniors. The semifinalists will be announced in April, and the finalists will be named in early May. We are extremely proud of these students' academic accomplishments, and you may remember Cameron. He visited us a couple months ago with celebrating his perfect ACT score. So good luck to those 3. The 64th annual Parada del Sol was this last Saturday. And can I see a show of hands in the crowd if you were there? I think we were well represented. It was wonderful to see our district represented so well at Saturday's Parada del Sol through downtown Scottsdale. Board President Perleberg, board members Beckham, Kravitz, and Hartman took part on horseback, as so did Mr. Hartwell. The district wagon was packed with principals, assistant principals, and their families. High school marching bands from Arcadia, Coronado, and Saguaro joined up with their feeder middle and K-8 bands from Ingleside, A&LC, Tonalea, K-8, and Mojave. Student leadership teams from Hohokam, Desert Canyon Elementary, and Saguaro were there, as were Navajo, the Hohokam Robotics Club, and last but not least, the award-winning Desert Mountain Varsity and JV Palm Lions and state champion Saguaro football team. They had all 3 trophies there, too, on the wagon. I'm happy to report we were received warmly by the crowd along the parade route. All in all, it was a great day. We had fun. You guys did good on the horses. I was impressed. Upcoming district events. A week from tomorrow, February 22nd, our adapted PE staff will host a special Special Kids Field Day for all of our self-contained special needs students in kindergarten through 8th grade. The event will be held in Mountain View Park next to Cochise Elementary School. High school volunteers will facilitate the students' participation in modified field day activities. Special community guests will include the Phoenix Suns Gorilla, Big Red from the Cardinals will be there, and Baxter, of course, from the Arizona Diamondbacks will be there to support us as well as the Scottsdale PD. We thank our community partners for taking part in this great event. I'm sure everyone will have a wonderful time. It's on my calendar, and I will be there for sure. Lastly, our high school choirs will sing at the district annual choral festival the evening of February 27th at Chaparral High School, so put that on your calendar. The schools will perform separately, then combine to perform for the first time. A piece written by Chaparral's choir director, Nathan Richard. So those are our announcements.
Thank you. Okay, our next item 7, consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? So moved. Board Member Hartman makes the motion. Do I have a second? Second. Board Member Kravitz seconds. All in favor? Aye. 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 Motion passes with a vote of 5-0.
President Perleberg, if I could draw your attention to, at this time to someone who is joining our staff for next year, and since we're in Coronado, it seems like the very appropriate time to welcome the new principal to Coronado High School, Christopher Gilmore. You are looking at an extremely successful principal who has spent his last 9 years as a high school principal and has turned around a school up in Winslow where he has overcome extremely difficult odds of closing educational gaps and moving graduation rates forward. We are thrilled with his instructional leadership skills that he brings and his data-driven decision-making process. We think he is a great addition, and he brought his wife this evening, so welcome as well. And I believe you have a high school student not with you this evening, but thanks and welcome to the Coronado Committee. In addition, I'd like to welcome Laura Smith, Chief Financial Officer. Mr. O'Brien will be moving over into planning and design, and she brings years and years of school finance and has been working with school districts from across the state in helping them get on target, get on task, and get within compliance of state operations. So she works with complete transparency and loves sharing the process of finance with those of us who cannot truly understand school finance. So welcome aboard, Laura.
Thank you, and welcome to our newest team members. Our next item, item 8, information discussion item, 8A, Arcadia Neighborhood Learning Center, name change.
And we have the principal joining us this evening with Dr. McNeil and Kat Hughes, our proud principal of the ANLC.
No. I said it. I didn't bring it with me.
I don't know.
Was I supposed to bring it with me?
Is this it?
Yep.
There it
That's
is.
Beautiful. Just right click. Okay.
All right, well, good evening, Madam President, board members, Dr. Birdwell, Sandra, happy Valentine's Day. I'm really excited to be here. As most of you know, I started at ANLC on July 1, officially this year. And when I came in, we discovered, I listened a lot to our teachers, and I'm going to take us to our next slide. You said right click on this, Dr. McNeil?
Arrow.
Next, there we go.
Arrows.
So when I came into ANLC, I had the opportunity to meet with a lot of teachers and a lot of community members, and we recognized that some of what was going on at ANLC wasn't exactly what was best for kids. We were creating academic gaps for students. The school was founded in 1990, and just to give you a little bit of perspective, I was a sophomore in high school when the school was founded. And a lot hadn't changed. And so multi-age was very cutting edge in 1990. But as it began as a small program and it became a larger school, we started to see some academic gaps. And as you saw earlier in the school year, our test scores were not where we wanted them to be. From the teachers' perspective, they were sharing a lot of their concerns. And so what we ended up doing is we sat down my assistant principal and I met with each grade level team, as well as our specials, our specialists, and our special education departments, and we brainstormed ideas on what could we do to fix it. And overwhelmingly, looping came to the forefront. Our teachers really value the opportunity to spend 2 years with each of their students, and we could keep that while still going to a looping model, but changing the multi-age philosophy. So we took all of the grade level input and the specials team's input, and we discussed it in liaison. We boiled it down to 5 options for our teachers. One was to continue multi-age. 2 were multi-age pieces. 2 were looping pieces. 1 was a looping multi-age combination, and really we ruled out straight grade because we wanted to honor that 2-year piece. When we surveyed the teachers, there was an overwhelming support for looping. Got it? Okay, so once we decided to make the change from multi-age to looping, we recognized that we wanted to be able to communicate a large-scale change to the community with a name change. And the idea behind a name change is Arcadia Neighborhood Learning Center. Now, learning centers imply preschools, tutoring programs, alternative programs, and that's not what we are. We are a school in the Scottsdale Unified School District, and we want to be recognized as such. So with that, we collected submissions from the staff, the students, and the community. It ended up being about 3 pages of name suggestions, and we took that to our liaison and site council, where we narrowed it down to 5 new choices, as well as honoring the name of Arcadia Neighborhood Learning Center and keeping that. And all of the staff voted, and I'll give you a drum roll. We are recommending to you that we'd like to change our name to Echo Canyon K-8 for the 2017-2018 school year, and slightly change our colors to purple and black from purple and teal, and to stay the Jaguars. So we are keeping some of our colors, keeping our mascot, but changing our new name so that we can communicate what we're doing at ANLC, and there's a large-scale change for us. Questions for me?
Thank you. Any questions on the board? Board Member Kirby?
Thank you for your presentation. Could you just elaborate a bit on what looping is for the community who might not be familiar with that term?
Absolutely.
And that educational model?
So what we're going to do, and the looping model that won in the votes was a K1. So our students would start in kindergarten and stay with the same teacher for 1st grade. Then they would go 2nd to 3rd grade with the same teacher, and 4th to 5th grade with the same teacher. Being a K8, what we're going to do in our 6th grade is split 2 teachers. We're going to have an English and social studies teacher and a math science teacher. So we're kind of calling it middle school light. So they are switching classes for 2 of their core classes rather than 4, which our 7th and 8th grade middle school students will continue to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Board Member Hartman.
Thank you. So I, as a parent, went through a looping scenario back at Cherokee in the day, and actually it was a very successful model. What did end up happening is that there was kind of a bubble or a decline in enrollment in a period, and so that kind of changed the dynamic. And so I was just wondering, I know you can't predict the future, but are you already thinking about those type of trends?
We really believe our enrollment's going to increase at this point. When we've been doing our tours, the fact that we are switching to looping is grabbing much more attention. So I'm pretty confident that we're going to be good at two classes at each grade level to continue the loop, which would actually fill our building.
Okay. Board Member Kirby?
Thank you. One follow-up to that point, and this may be a Dr. McNeil question, I'm not sure, because it has district. What is the go-forward communication plan, rollout plan to make the splash, to drive the enrollment that you're anticipating?
Yeah, great question. Thank you, Board President Perlberg, Board Member Kirby. First step was coming here tonight to give the information, and then following up next board meeting with the approval. Principal Kat Hughes has done an amazing job of being completely transparent and including the stakeholders. They have a very active think tank at ANLC, where it's quite larger than most site councils, if you will. So there has been communication. It is posted on her webpage. She has sent out letters. Teachers are the big advocate. Once we get the stamp of approval, we will be yelling it from the rooftops, and we will be making sure that everybody knows that multi-age is no longer at ANLC, and we have a new brand, we have a new stamp, and we're moving forward with higher rigor, et cetera. Kat, you want to explain some more of your communications?
Really, we've started on February 7th. We had a community meeting so that we didn't have a lot of folks here at the board meeting tonight, recognizing that it was Valentine's Day and folks may want a little bit of a heads up on what I was presenting. We are also doing 3 more community sessions. We have one scheduled for Friday morning at 8:15, and then Tuesday at 1:30 before school dismisses, and then another one at 6 o'clock at night. So our community has been very well informed of what's going on, and then once we get, because right now we keep saying pending board approval, and once we get full board approval, then it'll be full-scale marketing.
Okay, that's what I was looking for, is the outward, the outside, the bit, I get it. You need the board approval first.
We're waiting for you.
Thank you.
And Board Member Kravitz? No? Oh, you're flashing. All right. Okay. All right. And I guess, I'm sorry. Oh, they're switched here. I'm so sorry. Board Member Beckham.
It says that the recommendations for a school name change, and I see kind of a color name change, staying Jaguars. So are you also then, do we approve the actual looping model? Since that's not one of the bullet points up there.
No.
No, okay. I would like to focus on your academic outcomes, because that is what I would like to understand how that's going to change. I understand one component will be the change in the teacher component, and you will be doing looping. Are you also going to be changing curriculum or changing instruction? How else are you going to drive the change in your academic performance?
That's a great question. So right now, our teachers, and I'll use 3rd and 4th grade as an example, they teach both 3rd and 4th grade language arts standards at the same time in their classrooms. They teach 3rd grade social studies and 4th grade science. What that does, and math is linear, so those are broken apart. So we have 3rd grade math teachers and 4th grade math teachers. What happens with that is an excessive amount of planning and really challenging to meet the needs of all grade level standards for both grades at the same time. So what will happen is a teacher will only be focused on one set of grade level standards and one set of teaching materials and curriculums at a time, whereas right now the two has become rather challenging to maneuver, as well as parents move in or move out of our community. If there's a 4th grader who is in 3rd grade science and they didn't get 4th grade science, it does cause some of those academic gaps. So academically, what will happen is the fact that teachers will be able to be focused solely on one set of standards and one set of curriculum at a time. And then we can work on focusing the instruction. We've been focused on improving instruction this year at ANLC, but we are looking at how do we make this more effective for our teachers and more manageable.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Exciting things at Echo Canyon K-8.
Pending board approval.
Wonderful.
And I just want to commend Principal Hughes and the ANLC staff. I see Ms. Keenan here and Ms. Wilkinson, and I just want to celebrate them. Kat has done an amazing job of making this exciting and moving forward and rebranding ANLC, so we're excited about the future.
Thank you. Wonderful. Good. All right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. Our next item, item 8B, continued discussion of opportunities for schools within the Granite Reef Corridor, an information discussion item. Dr. Birdwell.
There'll be no hugs or shaking hands this evening. Y'all don't want what I have. Let me start by just making a couple comments. We have many people here who are here because they think some decisions have been made. So let me right out of the chute say, there have not been any decisions. None. None. No decisions have been made, ladies and gentlemen. What I mean by that is, we never said we were going to be a K-8. We said, is there an interest? And thank you for doing the survey, Principal. We appreciate the feedback. That came about because Tonalea got to be a K-8. And I understand that when the neighbor becomes a K-8, you might want to become a K-8. What a great conversation to have. In addition, when I came on board a year ago, January, we didn't even have a bond. We didn't have a rebuild to talk about. So we spent the spring talking about whether there was a need, and here's one thing I know for sure. All of us agreed that we needed to rebuild schools, and therefore we had a 5-0 support of the governing board to go out for a bond and override. Better yet, the community got behind us and said, we too believe you need to rebuild some schools and take care of life cycles. And the community got behind us. And nowhere in the conversation since November of 2016, which has just been a few months, have we ever said we wouldn't rebuild a school. That's never been stated. But what we have discussed is that there is a great amount of responsibility that comes with spending $228 million of the taxpayers. And when you do that, you should have a conversation about how it will impact the students. And that dollar is spent in the very best manner possible and takes us as far as we can into the future. We went through a metrics process of determining greatest needs simply meant on mechanicals. I heard a teacher earlier talk about the plumbing and the air conditioning. By golly, you couldn't be better. We know that too. We know that school. When it has a plumbing error, we have to jackhammer up the floor. The lines are in the concrete. We shut down two classrooms at a time to fix the plumbing. And we had main water leaks over there. There isn't a school probably that needs more help from a life cycle standpoint to keep it open and healthy than Hohokam, which is why it rose to the top of our metrics when we just considered mechanics. Both from the outside consultants and in-house and the cabinet, 3 schools actually rose to the top, Hopi, Hohokam, and Pima, because of their needs. They're great. But it didn't mean that Kiva doesn't need it, or that Pueblo doesn't need it, or that Cherokee should be forgotten, or that Navajo isn't on that list, because they're all on the list and they've all been discussed. And if you think the sea of green is big, you ought to be in my office with the emails that all the schools email me. Because trust me, Pueblo wants rebuilt too. And so does Kiva. And so does Navajo. Every school that's been waiting for years wants to be rebuilt. We just can't build you all in the same year, that's all. The community's given us the money. Our job is to orchestrate it in an appropriate manner. And we believe, first and foremost, that you all need our help, and we're going to get you that help. To the young people sitting here, let me say this to you. No one is closing your school. Be proud to wear those green shirts. Your school's staying open. Okay, we're proud of Hohokam. And I don't want young people going to school stressing, thinking their school's going to be closed because someone's out there telling them that their school's closing. There is no school closure. Let me be clear about that. And I think it's really critical because I've talked to some community members that say the community is being told that their school's being shut down. That's never been the conversation. What has been the conversation is the continued dialogue around the Granite Reef Corridor. And from what I understand, being new to Scottsdale, this is not a new conversation. And what I understand from hearing a few of the folks talk tonight, this has been going on for quite a while. And it's normal. And no one should get in angst over it, or one community shouldn't be pitted against another community, and one school shouldn't get mad at the other or say, well, my test scores are higher this year. Because we can look over 10 years and we've all gone up and down. The reality is the entire South Corridor has a wonderful focus on it. One that will end with positive results. From Coronado High School all the way through to all of the feeders, we have great focus and attention. But it's not just about changing a building. The building's just one piece of it. Once we decide to build and design, we should consider what's going on inside the house as well. So we've been studying enrollment, matriculation, academics, programming. You heard ANLC just step away a few minutes ago. They're doing that internally too and saying, hey, if our test scores are low and we're down in enrollment, what's happening? Well, I think it's a great example. The first thing that's happening is people don't know who they are. The name's wrong. Cat Hughes couldn't be more right on target. When you say Learning Center today, people think it's an alternative ed, it's special ed, or it's a preschool, an early childhood development center. They don't think of it as a school. So poor ANLC, from the very get-go of somebody driving by, they don't even stop. Or if they do stop, they stop to ask you what your special needs classes are offering. Or can I bring my student here? He's being expelled from another school. So these are great examples, and I'm going to, Casey, I don't know where we're at on here, if you can help find me. We're going to put a couple slides up here because I think it's important for us to talk about the continuing process of this. And by the way, today I am Dr. Nance and Dr. McCauley, who are, by the way, in San Diego in the rain, looking at high school reform models. And there are 30 schools from across the nation talking about high school. Thank you for that. And I was supposed to be there, and I'm not going because I'm not well. So let's just talk a little bit about some more facts. With this state of facts, if we can get the community to agree to one thing, let's stay to the facts. Let's not get caught up in the rumor mill. And when you think you hear something and you're not sure if it's true, please ask. Delay does not mean it's not happening. It means we want to be right about our decision. And I have to tell you that when people want to run too fast, we can forget some things along the way. And I think we don't have to go fast at this. We ought to do it right. So we continue to study. So here's what I do know. When Supai was a middle school, here's the feeders: Hohokam, Pima, Tonalea, and Yavapai. And since 2010 to 2016, here are the number of students that moved on into the middle school. Now, of course, this 2016 is a K-8 Tonalea, not a Supai. But notice that when we look at those numbers, they're pretty consistent over time. There's no big shock here. Hohokam has an average of 35 to 41 year. They had a large class there in 2012, a lot of students. Pima continues to send kind of an average number of students. Tonalea stays up and down over time, and those are cohorts. And Yavapai continuously pretty well sends their students into this neighborhood. But Hohokam and Pima are close enough to Mojave that sometimes a parent chooses. They choose to send their kids up the corridor, and they send them to Mojave Middle School. So over time, Hohokam has sent 15, 16, 17 average number of students, and actually for next year, they've already told me that we have 24 students who've open enrolled in Mojave, and 19 that have indicated that they will stay in 6th grade if it's offered at Hohokam's campus. So we would have a 6th grade of 19. But 24, now this is from the principal. He shared this with us. So this is kind of how we move about in our school district. That's percentages. It's the same thing, just moved into percentages. So how about high school? Where do these kids go all the way, make it all the way up into our high school? Well, they do. They have a choice. And I'm going to tell you what happens in high school. Kids choose to go wherever the program is that they have an interest in. If they're interested in culinary arts, guess where they went? Chaparral. If they have an international baccalaureate focus, they head it on all the way up to Desert Mountain, and parents will make that sacrifice and drive kids to these schools when they hit high school because it's very program driven. Saguaro is known for its engineering program. Here's where our students here chose to go. So in 2016, Hohokam sent 29 kids up to Coronado. Pima, 14. Tonalea, 53. Yavapai, 54. Over at Saguaro, only 9 of the Hohokam students went up to Saguaro. 57 students from Pima. And remember, the Pima's further up the corridor, so it makes a natural fit. They really do get to choose. A Pima family, some of our Pima families live right here around Coronado, but some of our Pima families live closer to Saguaro than they do Coronado. So they're what we call that bubble. They're going to choose either way depending on the family. The difference is, if they choose to go up to Saguaro, there's not a bus running up there for them. The parent is providing transportation. That's pretty normal for school districts. So where do the students go? That's important for us to know. We also looked at percentages there. There was a question about Cheyenne. Do the kids from the South go to Cheyenne? Because it's a traditional school. Because we discovered in our articulation that Hohokam said we're really not a traditional school according to the definition that was used for traditional schools. In other words, we're not teaching Saxton. That's not the math program that we use. We're not in school uniforms, and we don't teach Spalding. That's traditional. Traditional teaches Spalding and they teach Saxton. If you're not using that curriculum, you are not traditional. And we are not doing that at Hohokam. I think in the past it was a great idea. I think we had a principal that was headed there, then he got transferred out and he went to another school. And leadership matters very much so. Unfortunately, that dream of being traditional, I think, kind of died with the person, and it didn't get continued and picked up, and it didn't get moved forward. And there is no criticism of that. I've stood up here 3 times and said, we're not criticizing you for that. If we look at the achievement of Hohokam, we see it's headed in the right direction. Yes, I have complimented you on that. You should be complimented on that. But in the same hand, it does not mean that you're achieving leaps and bounds ahead of everyone else, because the entire district is focused on academic improvement. You heard ANLC talk about academic improvement. You will hear Pima talk about academic improvement. You will hear the Navajo principal talk about her goal of academic improvement. And Pueblo, and Cherokee, and Kiva, and Cheyenne. Everybody's focused on academic improvement, because we can all improve. But we're not going to compare one to the other. As a matter of fact, when I started my day off, I was going to do that. And I chose not to, because this discussion shouldn't be about who's outperforming who, because as a district, we've committed to Team 1, Scottsdale, that we're all going to focus on improvement, that we're all going to come together around academic achievement, that we're all going to use data to be better at what we do. We all adopted a new literacy program, the entire district, to make sure that all children reach 3rd grade at reading levels. We are doing this together. The purpose of Cheyenne up here is not to bring Cheyenne into this discussion other than to say only, Casey, help me, 12? 12 students from the South go to Cheyenne. Only 12 students have the opportunity for a traditional program. We don't offer what's considered the advanced program in Arizona in the South. No, we don't. We don't offer that. But we should. We ought to provide that opportunity somehow. That's my opinion as a superintendent. Because I believe we have extremely bright, articulate children in every neighborhood. And I believe there are parents in every neighborhood in Scottsdale that want academic acceleration, that want high academic achievement opportunities for their students. But I might be bound by money and location to the schools of which I am living in. I don't have the dollars to drive to Cheyenne, or I don't have the ability to get my child to the bus to get on a bus to go to Cheyenne, or I don't have the ability to drive my student to Desert Mountain for the IB program. Some do, some don't, but not many. Only 12 have told us that they're going up to traditional. We broke that data down for you. Here's the Coronado population. I think it's important to know who's housed in Coronado today. Well, we have 1 Cherokee student. We have 164 from Pima who choose to go to Coronado. They could choose to go to Saguaro, but they choose to go to Coronado. They probably live a bit closer, and they're not having to catch a bus up there. Yavapai, 262. But we better be focusing on Yavapai. If we're focusing on Coronado, we want to focus on all the feeders, don't we? So we're really focused. Nancy's doing a great job over there. We're focusing on academics. Hohokam, 147, 19 from Navajo decide to come on down to Coronado. They by the way, are slated for Saguaro. So they open and roll in. Tonalea, 188. And I got to tell you, great things are happening in Tonalea. Wonderful things. Tavon sends over some kids to Coronado. Hopi sends some kids down to Coronado. And we get 306 kids from out of district, 240 who come from Camelback High School. They choose to come here. We have kids that come from Glendale. High school is about choice. What fits my study? And thank you to the soccer team, what fits my athletic program? Because kids are drawn to championship programs. I guarantee you go find some really amazing football athletes at Saguaro. When you have state championships, it draws kids to your school. When you have stellar programs that win national awards, like the robotics program at Saguaro, when you have outstanding fine arts programs like we have here at Coronado, they will draw students. So students come from all over. We shouldn't think of it from an aspect of, well, Coronado's doing this because the kids come from here. No, they come from all over the place, and we're happy. Here's what stirred the nest this week. Sorry I wasn't well enough to just get on social media and have some fun this weekend, but being a little sick, I didn't decide to play on Twitter with everybody else. In the educational field, there are many models. There are K2 models. I taught in a K2 model when I was in Springerville. I taught in a 4-6 model. There are K5s, K6s, K8s, K12s, 6-8s, 4-6s, 7-12s, K12s. Whatever combination a governing board wants, a school wants, that's what the community gets. And more than not, it's less about what a parent wants, and it's more about what we can afford to put together and provide quality. Because if you're in a rural community like I grew up in, it was K-12. I had 34 in my graduating class. And I was in a school as a kindergartner with people who were many years older than I was. I had a whole lot of brothers and sisters. I'm going to tell you what, the whole village raised you back then. I taught school in a 4-6. It was an amazing, interesting experience to be with just 4-6. And boy, are they matched nicely together. The maturation that's going on in grades 4, 5, and 6 are really similar. But something changes around 7 and 8, and anytime we talk about 7 and 8, the community goes crazy. They get all excited. My God, don't put my first grader with a seventh grader. I know something bad will happen. Well, by God, don't put my seventh grader with a high schooler, because I'm sure that senior something bad will happen. Ladies and gentlemen, they're all our children. And how they behave is very much rooted in how we've raised them, and the rules of which they are entering that campus on, and the culture of that school campus, and how well that school campus culture is established, and what it tolerates and what it doesn't tolerate. I read an article today on K-8 again, because it's mixed. The reviews are mixed. And it was awesome to hear them talk about what could happen in grades K-8 with holding back and controlling the social emotional behavior of children. By all means, you can. And you keep them young a little bit longer. But there's another research that says, but if I hold them back for social emotional, I might also hold them back academically, because they don't have as much alternatives. And I'm going to show you some examples of this. This is the research that Dr. Nance shared with our governing board, and I thought it was important so we could put it online. There's no conclusive quantitative research on academic advancement. There's qualitative, there's stories, and they're very much tied to the teachers and the principals inside those buildings and the culture and climate of which they have put together. Very subjective. Vertical articulation is certainly an advantage of K-8, and that is why we moved Tonalea to a K-8. Tonalea was moved to K-8 because there was a need for vertical articulation because of the gaps that we identified in the academic achievement of students. We needed to address that, and we're doing it, and it's exciting. When you have smaller 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, yes, it creates a different learning environment, and yes, it creates a social, emotional support for the student, and all research will talk about that. But you're talking sometimes about one class of 6th graders, one class of 7th graders, one class of 8th graders. In many occasions, those upper grades can come be role models for the younger grades, for the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. They can come down, and we can create those type of mentor programs. There is consistency for those 9 years. Parents are very comfortable. They know the staff, they know the principal, they know the secretary. Parents know the secretary better than anybody knows the secretary. God bless them. We appreciate everything they do to welcome our families. Parental involvement tends to be stronger, because I'm going to tell you what happens is when your kid goes to high school, they want you to park 2 blocks away and please drop me off. That's a reality. So we get fewer parent engagement as the older the kid gets, but the younger, we have more parents engaged. Siblings attend the school, it tends to work well for the parents. They don't have as many drop-offs. They like that same bell schedule. It is a smaller learning environment, and some like it. That's why some parents are choosing K-8s over 7-8s. Curriculum. What are the advantages of quote-unquote middle school? We had a conversation in our board meeting, so this is really for the public. Middle school came about with the idea of 6, 7, 8, and it was based around social emotional behaviors. Junior high is a term used for 7th and 8th, which was meant to be a small high school. The junior high to the high school. In other words, I'm going to expect and treat you like I would a high schooler as a 7th and 8th grader so that you develop the maturity to handle elective courses, to move from class to class, to have multiple teachers, to have more responsibilities. And that's the main difference between the two. Middle schools also did thematics. Teachers got together in teams, and they worked together in teams. Site administrators typically, here's one of the problems we have with K-8. When you put a K-8 school together, your administrator typically has experience either in early childhood or middle school. Luck of the draw. Now we try to pair them. If I've got a middle school, a K-8 principal, I try to put them with an assistant who's the opposite. So if you've got middle school experience, I try to give you an assistant principal with early childhood because they are two separate worlds apart. It's very difficult to find principals who really love K-8. They either love middle school or they love early childhood. But we ask them to love them all in a K-8. So we try to pair them with their opposite to help them out with that. We can say all we want. A K-5 teachers can be surveyed and say, hey, do you want to be K-8? And here's like typically it doesn't matter to me. And why doesn't it matter to the teacher? When we spoke with Chuck, this is the principal at HOCOM, he said, I'm not sure the teachers really have an opinion on this because they're not the middle school teachers. Well, that's normal. I'm teaching 5th grade. I don't have a clue about what you're going to expect in the 7th and 8th grade. I'm not the 7th and 8th grade teacher, nor will I be held accountable for that. I'm going to be the 5th grade teacher, and I know what my 5th grade team does. I'm a 4th grade teacher. I know what my 4th grade team does. When we start getting the middle level, if you don't offer advanced level courses, you hurt the student as they hit high school, because they're not going to be ready for the AP level courses they get in the 10th, 11th, and the 12th grade. And then the 11th and the 12th, that means money to mom and dad. Because if you can't pass the exams, the credit doesn't go automatically to the college. And that means you're going to retake courses. The advantage of an advanced placement course is to take the examination and get credit in college. The same thing with dual enrollment. So if we hold back and create K-8s, we have to think about what we're going to do to accommodate the advanced learner because the system is not designed unless it's a large K-8. Tonalea is a large K-8 with 900 students in it. Having the majority of the 7th and 8th graders together allow us to begin to look at some opportunities for advanced level. That's one of the advantages of having more students. It can lead to more special educational advantages, things like foreign languages. It can allow for the advancement of the arts. We can start talking about coding. We can start talking about graphics design. There's just a whole lot more opportunities. And I'm going to show you an example here. Teacher issues, you have teacher issues no matter how you go. But here's the piece I do need to share with you. Recently, there's been a change in certification. For a teacher to teach 6th grade, 7th grade, or 8th grade, they must hold certification in the area. So you heard Ms. Hughes say, I'm going to have a 6th grade teacher with English and social studies because the teacher must be certified in both areas. And I'm going to have a teacher teach math and science, and she has to find a teacher who's certified in both math and science, or the teacher will not be highly qualified going into next year. That's a recent change. That was not part of the discussion last fall. This just came up this month, and it just came out of the Department of Education. So that's that part about being nimble when the state puts forward pieces. I asked Ms. Hughes, I said, I want somebody outside of this learning community because I don't want to stir any more of this learning community, but let me just show you what happened when you have a small K-8. I asked her, what do your 6th graders get for electives, for specials? They get band, strings, art, music, and PE. Look familiar? Looks just like a K-5. But if you're at Ingleside and you're in the 6th grade, you get to have personal health and fitness, music exploration, college and career enhancement, computer basics. You also get to choose between band strings, choral, Spanish exploration, French exploration, PE, and art. Because there are lots of kids at the various grade levels, so there are lots of options. Same thing happens in ANLC in the 7th and 8th grade year. We added newspaper and yearbook. But look over on the other side. Now they get the Japanese and the Spanish 1-2 or French 1-2, Discovery STEM, computers, intermediate or advanced, journalism, speech and debate, video productions, yearbook, literacy pursuit. This is not uncommon. This is what happens in high school. I was having a conversation with a parent earlier about high school. If you have a high school of 1,000 kids, this exact same thing happens. The elective side shrinks in comparison to Desert Mountain, where you have 2,500 kids or 2,300 kids, where the electives broaden because you have more students. So numbers play an effect on the academic opportunities for students. That's what we've been trying to discuss for the parents, is we want to give your students the best opportunities, rather than self-contained 6th grade or self-contained 7th and 8th because you only have 20 students in the 7th grade, because they will not have the ability to electives. I'm not going to go into this because you don't want to see academic achievement. I don't want to talk about academic achievement. I don't want to get distracted on this. The bottom line is everybody in Scottsdale is working on academic achievement. Our job as a governing board, as a superintendent, is to provide the very best model to give parents an opportunity to choose what's in the best interest of their child. That's why we have some K-8s and we have some middle schools. And we have some middle schools doing a great job, and we've had some middle schools that have struggled through the years. I don't envy anyone in these decisions. It's personal to a community member. But I want you to know it's personal to us too. It's personal because we care about the 24,000 students who attend Scottsdale. And we get but one chance in 40 years to do right by them. We build a school based and influenced by a design. I heard the teacher say, we don't have a gym for kids to be in during the heat. There should never be a school in the state of Arizona without a gymnasium of some type of multi-purpose room. Dual major, English and physical education. There is a time in Arizona where being out at 115 degrees doesn't serve any child well. Whether we build a K-8 or a K-6, there will be a multi-purpose room there for these children. There is not a question in my mind that Holcomb needs to be rebuilt, and I don't think there's a question in your mind as a governing board. The facility has lived out its days. The bigger issue will be, what will the design be? I'm going to ask the governing board to come together next week and make a decision about the next 2 schools. I don't need an order, because quite honestly, these schools are going to be so close in build, you don't need to put one in front of the other, because we sold bonds in January and we're selling bonds in November. Both can come out of the chute of design and get started. There's no reason to pick one over the other. We certainly need to move forward with that design process because we have engineering, we have traffic, we have to do core drills of the ground, we have to see what remediation we have to do on fields that haven't been dug up in many, many years. There's a lot of work that goes on, and Mr. O'Brien is anxiously waiting to start that work and prepared to. In the meantime, though, I'm going to ask the governing board over the next month to continue a conversation about the South. I believe in my heart that we need some type of advanced level choice for parents, and we ought to discuss that. When I came here, I thought Holcomb was a traditional school. I'm okay that it's not, but I'm also going to bring to the governing board to change its name, because I don't think a parent should sign up to a traditional school believing they're getting a traditional education and not receive that. We need to make sure that we stand behind our words. So there's another school that's been misleading with a title. So let's fix that, and then let's have a conversation in our community, and let's have some conversations with some of our other schools and decide, what will that advanced level opportunity look like? Will it be an accelerated learning program? Will it be a traditional school? But we have very bright children who need to be challenged, and I'm not sure that we're tapping that the way that we should. If we were, I would not see AP classes at Coronado High School with 9 students and 12 students. And through the system, if only 9 and 12 are making it to the high school, something is statistically wrong with that. We should see full AP courses at every grade level. And they're not getting all the way through the elementaries into the high school as accelerated learners. Somewhere along that pathway, their self-efficacy has been that I can't do that. And we need to fix that. Self-efficacy needs to be there. I hear parents talk about, my child wants to be an engineer, wants to go to MIT, my child wants to be a lawyer and a doctor. Ladies and gentlemen, those children need to be in advanced level learning if they plan on that career path. And they should be given that opportunity right here in the South neighborhood. And they shouldn't have to get on a bus or be driven all the way up to Cheyenne to have that opportunity. So that's where I'm at. I appreciate the continued discussion by the governing board. If you have any questions, I'm happy to talk. Casey, thank you for all of your help today. He was mining my data in the absence of Dr. McCauley, and he's just absolutely amazing. And he tolerated being in the room with me with my coughing and sneezing and hacking, so I hope you don't get my cold. But any question the governing board might have?
Any questions or comments? Board Member Hartman, thank you for breaking the silence.
I'll give you some time to think. Dr. Birdwell, thank you so much. This is the second time that we've, really not even more than 2 times, but the second time we've thoroughly gone over this in the last couple of weeks. And the additional research actually is really interesting and helpful. So I appreciate you continuing to bring the data and also in communicating. I think what you're hearing from the board, I can speak for myself, but there's very much a commitment to South Scottsdale and all of our schools, Hohokam included. And we're not trying to rush anything. This is a very much a go slow to go fast so that we have the best outcome possible. So I also appreciate the input from parents as well. Because I know you're passionate about your kids, just like we are about our kids, and as board members, we wouldn't be here unless we were passionate about, I can speak for myself, all 24,000 kids. So thank you for highlighting that too on our behalf. So that's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Board Member Kravitz. Board Member Kravitz.
I just have a question, and don't read too much into this question. Was the survey of the Hohokam community regarding becoming a K-8 done before or after an explanation of the differences between a K-8 and a middle school?
Before. Principal from behind. Come to the mic. And I'll stand away so I don't get you sick.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, we did both actually, because we wanted to make sure parents clearly understood the advantages and disadvantages of K-8, not blindly make a decision just based on, I want to stay here. So we did both. We 5th grade was a paper general interest survey where so we could track to make sure we got an accurate count because they were the most important group. Pre-K 4 was an electronic online survey, and then following the presentations we did on K-8, we surveyed 5th grade again. Just kind of I don't want to say a firm commitment, but more now you kind of know the pros and the cons. Are you still interested? And that's where the numbers come from with the 54 committed for 6th grade next year.
Thank you.
Okay. Board Member Beckham.
I just want to take the opportunity to thank all of the parents, teachers who came out today and with their kids. Thank you for coming up and speaking. We don't always have an opportunity to hear. We always, you can email us, but we really appreciate you coming out today and giving us your thoughts and comments. And that's why we have the public comment area. So I don't want anybody to think that we didn't appreciate it or didn't want to listen to you. So thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Kirby.
So there's clearly been quite a bit of angst over these conversations and these discussions, and I've spent the weekend reflecting on why that is. And what's happened is that there have been 2 discussions that we as a district have needed to have for 10 to 15 years and have just ignored. And the first discussion is the K-8 debate. We never really, as a district, had that conversation. The second conversation is the Granite Reef Corridor. And here we are, where the two very difficult, very contentious conversations have collided and bled into one another. And it is creating anxiety in the community. And furthermore, take all that and partner it with the fact that most of the public doesn't understand, I found this out this weekend, that we as a board can't go into a room and close the door and have this conversation privately so that we can avoid all of that anxiety. We as a board cannot go into a room and shut the door and play the what-if scenarios and ask the questions that we have been asking. The law doesn't allow us to do that. We have to do it publicly. So these two very difficult conversations that we've needed to have, we've had to do it publicly. I don't know what Board Member Beckham is thinking until we get into this kind of a room. And I don't know what the answer is to some of my questions or to some of Board Member Kravitz's questions because I can't talk to her privately. I can only talk to one other board member. And decisions are made as a body. So I would just like to leave the community with the fact that please don't read between the lines and try to assume what we're thinking based upon the question we ask. We're just asking questions that we need to ask to make a very difficult decision on two difficult topics, K-8 versus middle school and the Granite Reef Corridor. So I appreciate everyone coming out tonight and listening to us because that's very important that you hear it firsthand. And I also would encourage everyone, if you have a question, if you want to know what is Pam Kirby thinking, email me and ask me. I'll be more than happy to tell you. Call me. I'll meet you for coffee. We'll have that conversation. This is an exciting time for SUSD. I thank administration for allowing us and facilitating this conversation, for allowing us to have it, because SUSD is going to be better because of it, and I am so confident in that.
Thank you. Board Member Hartman.
Thank you. So thank you for that. And one of those thinking out loud questions is I'm just connecting some dots from the past couple of conversations. So I don't know if this is a question you can answer now or something that I would be interested in understanding as we think it through. But as we have the conversation of K-8 versus middle school or 6-8 or 7-12, one of my key takeaways that I'm learning is that, the concept of critical mass. When you have more kids, right, the right amount, you have more opportunities. So I'm hearing examples of when we have more kids in a 6-8 or some larger body of students, there's more advanced level courses, which then put you on a course for continued advanced learning. There's the 6th and 8th grade certification that's becoming very critical now. There's more electives. So there's just a more robust set of curriculum and options for students and their future. Then I marry that conversation with a comment that was the other meeting as well, last Thursday, which Tunnelea was never intended to be a long-term K-8. It was anticipated to be a K-8 for about 5 years to address vertical articulation and academic gaps. So how do we, as a community, if we think a middle school is the right option longer term, how do we plan for that and take that into consideration in the bond and the build-outs as we go forward?
Interesting that you bring that up. Because the 68th Street was still part of those discussions and was never really taken off any of the discussions. So if the board at the end of this bond had the dollars and they chose to rebuild 68th Street, they could do so if the dollars were there. Now, the interesting piece on all of that, one thing we knew we were going to do was remove the buildings off of 68th right away because of the known nuisance and having the fact that we've had some break-ins and other things happening. The other thing that we would be tracking is enrollment. Remember that one of the early conversation was growth in the South, and although we know growth is coming, it's not going to come in large masses. It's going to come in a trickle. And part of the trickle effect is also, are you attracting? So part of the attraction is, do you have the programs that attract families? When families look at moving into a community, they look at, yes, the price of the home and the curb appeal, but they almost always ask, what's the educational system? What are my opportunities and my choices that are available? And then they do the drive-by. And so they like to drive by, they want to go see that school, they want to visit it, they want to talk to the principal. And so what are we offering a family who moves into the South? And that's why I say we need to have an opportunity for families to choose the model. We know that Yavapai is that wonderful neighborhood school, and it has 84% of the kids that live in the community go to the school. That's that perfect neighborhood example. We're working on the academic achievement in that school. We know when we come over to Tonalea that 80% of the Tonalea campus is the community members. Again, neighborhood school, but this time it's a K-8, so there's an option for a family. We know that Hohokam is a K-5, and we know that it has a robotic strand. We know that it has some STEM going on. But right now, when parents go to sign up, they think it's a traditional, and that's got to be. So what are you doing in your community that says, as a parent, when I come shopping and I go looking for schools, I want to know. Now, I've been shopping since I'm staying. I've been shopping in Scottsdale. So I want you to know that every community I go to and the realtors I talk to list right on there what your elementary is, what your middle school, what your high school. And you know right away, and you can go on the state website and you know if that's an A school, a B school, a C school, a D school. And when we combined Tonalea, we did remove the lowest score that Scottsdale has, because Supai was a D school. And there is no longer a D school in Scottsdale anywhere. However, how you raise the academic achievement to keep higher schools. We're about to go through labeling again for the first time. We don't know the criteria yet. The state hasn't released that. But we do know as we enter into another round of testing at the state level, you receive a label. And that label says how well you're doing. And so we're going to be looking at that. I think that that's really, really important to be able to understand that piece, Mrs. Hartman, is that we never said what we were going to do. That's part of the bigger conversation, and I think that's the piece that people aren't understanding. Making a decision about one school impacts 6 schools. It's not a single decision. I know it feels like it is because it's your school, but the moment we make a decision about one of the schools here in the Granite Reef Corridor, it's going to affect everybody else. If Holcomb becomes a K-8 and Pima becomes a traditional, will Pima be a K-6 or a K-8? And if Pueblo's going to continue to be a choice, it also plays into that. Oh, and by the way, we're not all that far removed from how we impact Kiva. So all of these dominoes are moving parts that work together, and I think that that's the issue. So even middle school plays into that. And so we know that what we're doing in Tonalea is very successful. We know the 2 principals are doing a great job. The staff development is working. It's making an impact. We need time. They need time. They need time to build that school. Yavapai is changing some things. They need time to bring that up. And so to make these difficult decisions right now, I think are forcing us into models that we may not necessarily be comfortable with 3 years from now or 5 years from now. So we're trying to look at every model so that we don't make a decision that has a domino effect later that gives us what we had in Cheyenne. Well, go back down to Holcomb and build a gym now. Oops. Oh, and you also forgot the science fair. So there are design pieces in a K-5 which are different than a K-8, and we've learned that lesson through Cheyenne. So we're back retrofitting Cheyenne with science labs and a gymnasium. If you build an elementary school at Holcomb for 700 students, you pick up, whether it's going to be 6th grade, you can pick up the multi-purpose room, the other pieces. But you're not going to resolve the 7-8 issue. And the 7-8 comes into science labs and larger fine arts facilities. So bigger issue. The other thing is if you're going to be K-8, how small are you willing to be? Because if I only have one section of 7th grade and one section of 8th grade, why am I building science labs and gymnasiums and all the other pieces to go with it if I don't have the population to support it? So that, and I know this is difficult for the families to hear. I'm not saying you're not, again, I am not saying that you're not getting rebuilt. I'm saying that it is a difficult decision to say, let's jump from a K-5 or K-6 to a K-8. And that is a $5 million ticket. It's not a simple decision that you're asking the governing board, because we are investing $5 to $8 million back at Cheyenne right now to fix the mistake that was made prior. So these are really complicated decisions to make, and I want the community, I ask the community to be patient with us. Let us understand our community and its growth and its needs a little bit longer before we go spend millions and millions of dollars that we can't reverse that. Now, can we always go back and add a gym? Sure. The next bond. But so how do we deal with that? So back to your question again. You see how when you start down that pathway, it plays into multiple decisions. Could Supai one day come back to being a middle school? Sure, it could. We're going to need to rebuild Tonalea's campus and get them off there. It was built as a middle school, but right now it's the perfect housing for the K-8. Because we should have a K-8 with 900 to 1,000 kids in it. That's the right size for a K-8. Because it allows you to have all the advantages that you get in the middle level in the K-8. But if you have a K-8 that only sits with 700 kids or 600 kids and one section of 7th grade and one section of 8th grade, now you miss out on the other pieces. So if everybody, and I'm going to tell you it's going to be an epidemic, everybody's going to want to be their own K-8. And that's fine if we choose to go there. But they're not going to have the electives and the opportunities, particularly in the acceleration, that the other campuses get in the other part. And then I'm going to hear, why did you treat the South different than the North and make us be K-8s and hold us back academically? Now, we can debate that, and I'm hearing the whispers behind my back. I hate being at a podium. We can debate that moment, but the reality is, we can both find research that's going to show whether it's worked and it hasn't worked. It's very hard to accelerate 2 kids out of 20 in a class of just 20 kids and make sure that we meet the challenges and the academic needs that those 2 students need. I mean, right now we bus a handful of kids off of Tonalea to be able to go over. And we hope to grow that busing to get more kids over. But the reality is, and I think ANLC is who I should be, ANLC, I'm getting my 2 schools mixed up, but ANLC, I bus how many kids over? 15 kids over. And next year I'm only busing 2. See, because they're so small that each cohort is slightly different. And so we're going to bus 2 kids over to Arcadia to take an upper level math, because there's no way that ANLC can provide an upper level math for these students. So when you get these little small K-8s, we're actually, and I know it's hard for people to understand, you're holding kids back. The very kids that need to be accelerated get held back because of the model we put into place. In the same hand, when you have a large K-8 like Tonalea, you can do a lot more with it. So I'd love to see 1,000 kids at Hohokam. Give me 1,000 kids and I'd have a different conversation with you. But that's not what I have. I have 538 kids there right now. And they want a building to fix that problem. And I understand that, but I've said from the beginning, the building needs to be rebuilt. So anyway, further conversation. It's a big, it's a domino effect. Sooner or later we'll land the decision. I think one thing that we'll be bringing back to the governing board is a commitment on the next 2 schools, and then we'll keep working on the internal design. But I think I ask people to stay to the facts and understand the facts and don't be the rumor mill.
Board Member Kirby?
Thank you. So to that out-of-the-box question, that was a great question. And as I was listening to your question and then listening to Dr. Birdwell's response, I have thought about that as well. And none of us can predict the future. Absolutely not. But if our best intel that we have available comes to fruition, where the demographics in the South grow, more children, and if our best academic leaders that we have in SUSD drive the academic achievement that we're looking for, I see a future where the abandoned property at 68th and Oak gets rebuilt as potentially one of two things. I guess it could be the middle school, the new middle school, the standalone middle school, or it could be the new elementary school and then the current K-8 becomes the middle school. I just see it getting rebuilt.
But don't blog that, because she's just thinking out loud.
Thinking out of the box.
This is called a dialogue, okay? This is what happens when you have a dialogue.
Moment. Right, but I do have a concern that if we don't begin to nurture a 7-8, that we'll be in a position where we have to build a middle school out of nothing. And I don't know that we would be able to. I don't know that we would have the enrollment to actually bring that school up out of the ground with the appropriate number of students. So I understand Hohokam needs to be rebuilt, check. K5, K6, I look to our academic leaders to guide us in that decision. I do see some value of 7-8, short-term value for the students and long-term value for the students in the district overall. But that's my reaction after listening to your question and your responses.
Board Member Beckham.
Thank you for your comments, Mrs. Hartman and Mrs. Kirby. And I'm just going to kind of pick up on what you said, and that is to really understand the academic leaders in this district. Have you, or would you find it advantageous to get the principals of Coronado Complex and Saguaro Complex into a room and have you dialogued about what are those best models, since there is so much integration and so much crossover?
So there have been some conversations with principals and their individual supervisors, but I think that that's a really valid point, is let's all get together and have the conversation. And I'm going to tell you, even in our own cabinet, we agree to disagree. And part of that has to do with that the body of research goes both ways. And, the cabinet is a heavily research-driven group. And I have one cabinet member who would create something that you've never seen before. So she's very creative. But the majority look at that research and say, this research is mixed. I don't care if it's mixed methodology, if it's quantitative versus qualitative. The reality is when we look at it, and so then we go into what's called predictive statistics. So we look at predictive statistics and say, well, what are the best predictive statistics in the analytics say could occur in these models? And there are so many moving factors within those. And I'm going to tell you that they're heavily based. There are 10 basic pieces, and I'll just talk about 3 of those. One is the training of the teachers. There is the leadership and the ability to establish the culture and climate of learning. High academic achievement. And they say high academic achievement is one of those pieces in there. That successful middle schools and K-8s both depend on a culture of high academic achievement to be successful. So it says that the culture has that expectation. The other piece is a high expectation of student behavior. That we set a behavioral expectation of the student no matter what grade level they're in, but a grade appropriate behavior. And without that expectation, behaviors bring down academics. And this is the piece that parents often see, is that the behavior isn't where it needs to be, and when it is not, it interferes with the academic achievement of it. So when we as a cabinet and as administrators begin to talk about those pieces, there's some moving parts in there. You got to have a leader that understands what it is they're going to achieve. They set the culture and the climate. The last piece I'm going to add to you is you need engagement of the community. Every single research we'll go back to, you also need to have a community that's engaged in the learning of the children, and they're committed to that. So there's that piece that we're working on redeveloping here in the Coronado Complex and getting the community engaged in learning. We've started that with Coronado High School. I believe we're going to learn a lot through that process. It will help us be able to have more answers before we hit the middle level decision. But they're all moving parts. Somebody said to me earlier, well, I want to have it look like we do in other learning communities, and my answer maybe was taken a little rude, but I just simply said you can't. And here's why. You can't look like Desert Mountain when Desert Mountain has 2,500 students in it. and expect Coronado High School to have every option that Desert Mountain has because of pure numbers. It won't happen. You have different models even within high school based on the enrollment of high schools. You have a high school of 300, it's going to be very, very limited. You have a high school below 1,000, it's very limited. So we have two high schools that teeter around 1,100, and they struggle because they're so small. When you get up around 1,800 and then you get 2,000 and 2,500 and 3,600 and 4,600, you get to do things differently. You know, my foster child gets to have guitar. He's in a school of 4,600 students. It's like going to college. He gets to select from a catalog like he's at a junior college. We don't have that here because our largest school is around 2,300 students. So you cannot make Coronado look like Desert Mountain. And it's not because of the kids that are within it. It's not because I was born different and I have a different brain. That's not the case. The difference is the smaller the campus, the fewer the opportunities. That's the problem. So unless you find a creative way of partnering, you lose opportunities. So we partner with Scottsdale Community College. We try to bring those opportunities on, and you begin to get creative with that. But that's why they're different. You cannot make them look the same because we simply don't have the student body to do it. Not because of the children. The children are just fine. They're waiting on us to create great models.
Can I follow up with that? Am I on? Yes. Then, if you think it would be advantageous, I would love to challenge the principals to get together, and you're going to need a strong facilitator, I imagine, because it's probably going to get messy before something wonderful comes out of it. But I would love to hear from those two communities and know that they're talking together, that they're because there's so much emotion behind each individual site because it's yours or it's your community, it's where your student is. And to put them all in the same room so they can hear each other just like we got to hear people today, and then really work out what's important for each one. They may be able to come up with something that we've never heard of, or that they could give us recommendations, and I would want to have those recommendations evidenced with why they think that, not just a recommendation. If you don't think that's advantageous, then I would understand that. But it might be, I
think it's highly advantageous.
For something, and I'm looking for the academic leaders to give us more I like information, more information that has backing and substance to it.
We absolutely can have the conversation, and we'll make sure that we do that for you as a governing board. Here's the great part. I work with an academic learning team that has from K all the way up backgrounds of teachers and principals, and they come from all different districts. And when we put issues in front of them, it's fascinating to have that conversation. So I welcome that conversation. I would say this: if we do what we've always done, we're going to get what we've always got. So I'm going to challenge my principals to think creatively and open their mind to a conversation. Thank you for the dialogue, and to the community. This is how it works. You get to have public conversation, and you all get to eavesdrop on us.
Yes, and thank you. I want to also express my gratitude for bringing the conversation to us tonight and letting us have the conversation in the work studies. We had a work study where this began a week or two ago right here in this room. We had another work study, and these conversations, we need them. As my other fellow board members stated so clearly, this is the only way we can do it. As a parent, it was referred to earlier tonight that yes, as a parent, I got to sit in someone's living room with a glass of wine, and we talked the Southern Corridor and K-8s versus middle schools all night long, and it was lots of fun. But as board members, those conversations, become very different. And yes, even back then in 08-09, when our district was talking about consolidations, and we were dealing with enrollment issues, and we were dealing with academics and declining enrollment because the message was being sent from our community, you're not meeting the needs of my students. We've also had to, back then, even as parents, talk about this not as just our own school, but as a complex and as a district, because we completely recognize the domino effects of these conversations and these changes. So, is this a long time coming? Yes. Have many of us in our communities been having this throughout? Of course. And yes, it was referred to. I, as a parent, taught a lot about K-8s. But also, as a parent, my kids went to middle school, and it's all right, they thrived. So we're all going to take a deep breath. We continue these conversations. We do value the input. We do value the academic leadership that we have in this district, the conversations and questions that we need to answer first before making these decisions. I think that is one of the biggest concerns of this board, is because this was such a long time coming, and because we don't want the status quo. We cannot here in the Coronado, Saguaro, and all of our complexes just continue down the exact same path where we were. And so when it was asked earlier, you know, why should we be the guinea pigs, or why should we have this new program come at us? To me, in the Coronado complex, especially living here, the bigger question would be, why wouldn't we be the complex that brought innovation and a different way of thinking? For so long, our community has asked, how do we get effective remediation for our students who need it, and how do we get academic high standards and achievement and high achievement for our students in the Coronado complex who need that? And sitting here tonight and processing everything that we so far have discussed, I'm hearing the possibility of those two things that we've needed for so long possibly happening. Maybe not at the exact same place, all in one place, but maybe in two different scenarios, or two different places, two different environments, and then in the future, we figure out what our map is going to look like down the road. So thank you for letting us process this information. Thank you for the conversation. I think we all agree, and our administration agrees, we don't want it to go on forever. It's gone on long enough. So I just want to thank you all for being here and letting us do this work and doing it with us. So thank you.
It might be also important to note to the community, the board did not have an action item tonight. They cannot take action on your concerns because it is not, there was no action on them. They cannot add something at the last second because they feel like it. It's against the law.
That is very true. So our next agenda item, item 9, future items. Board members may propose topics for future consideration. We obviously have a lot on our plate already, but Board Member Beckham has another idea. Great.
So it's regarding letter N in the consent agenda, regarding the bilingual seal on the transcript. And in my conversations with the leadership team, I am going to request that the leadership team and appropriate departments, maybe World Language Department and teachers, further define the bilingual proficiency as a regulation in the policy to assure a student is truly proficient in the two languages and not just passing a standard assessment set by the Department of Education to receive this seal.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Thank you. Any further comments or questions? All right. Okay. Moving on to item 10, our dates of upcoming meetings. I believe it was mentioned earlier that we are indeed trying to schedule another work study, and that special meeting that will possibly have action item. Is that correct? But we don't have that date at this time. Is that correct? But next week, possibly next.
At this time, we're looking at Thursday. However, we need to see if Ms. Hartman can call in. I don't know if she'll be in the air or not.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. And I would like just kind of wonder some clarification. If we are adding action items to that special meeting, would it be appropriate for the ANLC name change, Echo Canyon, to be an action item in that meeting as well? Is that a possibility?
I would see no reason why it couldn't, because that would be a quick item. In addition, we're going to study procurement processes so that Mr. O'Brien can move forward with that piece, and then we would be asking if the board is comfortable to have an action to do the next 2 schools named for rebuild.
And that will be an action item, just to clarify. Next 2 rebuilds, okay. All right, and then we also have a study session Thursday, March 16th, 2017, and a regular governing board meeting here Tuesday, March 21st. Next item on the agenda, governing board reports. Do I have any governing board reports? No? That is wonderful. Exactly. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? So moved. Thank you, Board Member Kirby. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Beckham. The motion is, all in favor? Aye. Aye. The motion has been made and seconded. Meeting adjourned. Approved.